April 13th, 1945. 3:47 a.m. Northern Luzon, Philippines. The jungle breathes. Not with wind, there is no wind, but with the slow, wet exhale of 1,000 unseen things. Insects hum in frequencies that drill into your skull. Vines drip. Somewhere in the dark, a monitor lizard scrapes across bark. And in the middle of it all, sitting cross-legged on an ammunition crate outside a makeshift foxhole, is Private First Class Frank Currey. He can't see any of it. He hasn't been able to see anything for 3 weeks. The mortar blast that took his vision didn't kill him, though for a moment, in that white-hot flash of pressure and fire, he thought it had. When he woke up in the field hospital, the world was black. Not the black of closing your eyes. The black of erasure. The doctors told him his optic nerves were damaged, maybe permanently. They told him he'd be rotated stateside within the month. They told him he was done. But Frank Currey wasn't done. He'd refused evacuation. Told the commanding officer he could still fight. Still serve. Still hold a post. The CO, a grizzled major named Hollis who'd seen too many good men die to waste one who still had breath, looked at him like he'd lost his mind. But something in Currey's voice, something unshakable, made Hollis pause. "You can't see, Private." "No, sir. But I can hear." And so, against protocol, against reason, against every instinct screaming that this was a mistake, Currey was assigned to a listening post. A forward observation position along a narrow ridge overlooking a valley the Japanese had been using to stage night raids. His job, detect movement. Report back. Nothing more. It was a mercy assignment. A way to let a stubborn soldier keep his dignity before the paperwork caught up with him. But tonight, mercy has nothing to do with it. Currey tilts his head. The air has changed. Not the temperature, it's still the same oppressive, wet heat that makes your uniform cling to your ribs, but the texture of the silence. The insects have stopped. That's the first sign. In the jungle, when the insects stop, something is moving. Something big. He shifts his weight, fingers brushing the stock of his M1 Garand propped against the crate. His hands are steady. They've been steady since he was 16, lying about his age to enlist. Steady when he stormed Omaha Beach. Steady when he pulled 3 wounded men out of a burning half-track outside St. Lo. Steady even now, in the dark he'll never escape. He listens. There, a branch snapping. 40 yards downslope. Then another. 15 yards to the left. Then a sound like fabric brushing against wet leaves. Close. Too close. Currey's pulse doesn't quicken. It slows. His breathing deepens. He learned this from his grandfather, a hunter who taught him that fear makes you stupid, and stupid gets you killed. You don't fight the adrenaline. You ride it. You let it sharpen you. Another sound. Closer. Metal clinking softly against metal, canteens, maybe, or rifle slings. And then, unmistakable, voices. Whispered. Japanese. Currey's hand moves to the radio handset beside him. He lifts it slowly, keys the mic twice. 2 short clicks. The signal. Contact imminent. No words. Just the code. He doesn't wait for a response. He sets the handset down and picks up his rifle. The sounds are everywhere now. Not scattered. Organized. This isn't a patrol. This is an assault force. And they're heading straight for him. Currey doesn't move. Doesn't call out. Doesn't fire. Not yet. He knows the doctrine. Early warning is worth more than early engagement. If he opens up now, he gives away his position before his unit can respond. The Japanese will overrun him in seconds, and the ridge will fall before anyone knows it's under attack. So he waits. The footsteps grow louder. He counts them in his mind, parsing overlapping rhythms. 20 men. No, 30. More. The underbrush is alive with movement. He can hear equipment rattling, the soft grunt of men climbing steep terrain, the occasional hiss of a command. And then a voice. Close enough that Currey can feel the vibration in the ground. Haiku. Hurry. They're right in front of him. Curry's thumb flicks the safety off his rifle. The click is impossibly loud in his ears, though he knows it's barely a whisper in the night. His finger rests on the trigger. His breathing is so controlled now it's almost meditative. He pictures the slope. He memorized it when he could still see every tree, every rock, every fold in the terrain. He knows where the trail narrows, where the roots create natural tripwires, where a man would step to avoid the mud. And he knows, without seeing, exactly where they are. The first soldier is 5 feet away. Maybe less. Curry can smell him, sweat, gun oil, the faint metallic tang of fear. The man's breathing is shallow, nervous. He's young. They're all young. Curry raises his rifle. And waits. Because the thing about being blind in a war zone, the thing no one tells you, is that darkness is no longer your enemy. It's everyone's. And in the dark, the man who doesn't need his eyes is the most dangerous man alive. The first shot doesn't come from Curry. It comes from behind him, a sudden, sharp crack from the ridge where his unit is dug in. Someone panicked. Saw movement. Fired early. And just like that, the jungle erupts. Muzzle flashes bloom in the darkness like savage flowers. The Japanese don't hesitate. They surge forward, voices rising in sharp commands, boots hammering the slope. The careful silence is gone. Now there's only chaos. Curry drops to one knee behind the ammunition crate. He doesn't fire yet. The sound is a layered thing now, rifle reports overlapping, the deeper thump of a Nambu machine gun opening up from somewhere in the valley, the whistle and crack of rounds snapping past his position. But beneath it all, Curry hears what others can't, the pattern. 3 men moving left, trying to flank. 2 more rushing straight up the center. Another group, larger, maybe 8 or 10, pushing hard on the right where the trail widens. They're not scattered. They're executing a plan. And Curry is sitting in the middle of their kill zone. He pivots right, rifle coming up smooth, and fires 3 times in rapid succession. Aimed at sound, at breath, at the spaces where bodies have to be. The M1 bucks against his shoulder. The kick is familiar, almost comforting. A man screams. Curry doesn't wait to confirm. He's already moving, dropping flat as return fire rips through the space where he was kneeling. Rounds punch into the wooden crate, splintering it. One passes so close to his head he feels the heat. He rolls left, finds cover behind a fallen log, and listens again. The machine gun is still chattering from the valley, long, sustained bursts that mean the gunner is confident, not desperate. That's bad. It means they have ammo to spare. It means they expected resistance, and came prepared. Curry keys the radio mic. Contact! Heavy contact! At least 50, maybe more, pushing the ridge from the south. Repeat, 50 plus. The response crackles back immediately. Roger. Reinforcements moving to your position. Hold for 3 minutes. 3 minutes? In combat, 3 minutes is a lifetime. Curry slings the radio, grabs a grenade from his belt, and pulls the pin with his teeth, a move he practiced 1,000 times when he could still see, muscle memory so deep it doesn't need eyes. He counts 2 seconds, then hurls it toward the sound of rushing feet on his left. The explosion is a wet, violent crump. Shrapnel hisses through leaves. Someone screams, a high, thin sound that cuts off abruptly. But there are more. Always more. Curry reloads by touch. His fingers know every part of the rifle, the end block clips sliding into the receiver, the satisfying ping as the old one ejects, the bolts slamming home. 5 seconds. Faster than most men with perfect vision. The attack is intensifying. He can hear the Japanese officers shouting, rallying their men, pushing them forward despite the casualties. They know what every soldier knows: hesitation kills. Momentum wins. If they can break through this position, they'll roll up the entire defensive line before dawn. And the only thing standing between them and that breakthrough is a blind man with a rifle. Curry fires again. And again. Not wildly, each shot is deliberate, calculated. He's hunting by sound now, the way his grandfather hunted deer in the Appalachian dark. Listen for the footfall. Wait for the breath. Squeeze, don't pull. Another man goes down. Then another. But they keep coming. A figure rushes past him, so close Curry can hear the rustle of uniform fabric. He swings the rifle like a club, catches the man in the ribs. There's a grunt, a stumble. Curry reverses the weapon, drives the butt into where the head should be. Feels the impact. The man drops. No time to think. Curry spins, fires at the sound of boots behind him. The shot goes high, he hears it crack against a tree. He adjusts, fires again. This time, a body hits the ground. His heart is hammering now, but his hands are still steady. The trick is not to think about the odds. Not to picture what 50 men look like in the dark. Not to imagine what happens when they finally overwhelm this position. The trick is to shrink the world down to the next sound. The next breath. The next shot. A grenade lands 3 feet to his right. Curry hears it, the soft thud of metal hitting earth, the faint hiss of the fuse. He doesn't see it. Doesn't need to. He knows exactly where it is. He throws himself backward, hits the ground hard, covers his head. The blast lifts him, slams him back down. His ears ring. For a moment, the world is cottony and distant. But he's alive. Bleeding, he can feel warmth spreading across his shoulder, but alive. He rolls onto his stomach, fumbles for his rifle. Finds it. Checks the action by feel. Still functional. The ringing fades, and the sounds of battle return, sharper now, more desperate. The Japanese are close enough that he can hear individual voices. Commands. Curses. The wet rasp of labored breathing. They're right on top of him. Curry forces himself to his knees, braces the rifle against his hip, and fires blindly into the mass of sound in front of him. The clip empties. He reloads. Fires again. The muzzle flash is blinding to everyone but him. He doesn't flinch, doesn't blink. To him, it's just heat and noise. And then, cutting through the chaos, a new sound, the distant whump 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 of mortar rounds leaving their tubes. His mortars. Called in by someone back on the ridge who can actually see where the enemy is massing. Curry drops flat again, arms over his head. The first round hits 20 yards downslope. The concussion rolls over him like a wave. Then another. And another. The mortars are walking fire up the hill, bracketing his position, turning the jungle into a killing field. The Japanese assault breaks. Not all at once. There's no clean retreat in combat, but the momentum shifts. The sounds of advance become sounds of confusion. Orders are shouted, contradicted. Men are running, but not forward. Not anymore. Curry stays down, breathing hard, rifle ready. The barrage continues for 30 seconds. Maybe a minute. Time is slippery now. And then silence. Not complete. There are still groans, the crackle of small fires, the hiss of dying men. But the attack has stopped. Curry doesn't move. Not yet. He's learned not to trust silence. Footsteps approach from behind, friendly this time, American boots. A hand grabs his shoulder. Curry! Jesus Christ, Curry, you okay? It's Sergeant Kellerman. His voice is pitched high, adrenaline-soaked. I'm hit, Curry says. His voice is calm. Shoulder. Not bad. Not bad? You just held off an entire goddamn company. Curry doesn't respond. He's listening to the valley. To the forest. To the shape of what's coming next. Because he knows something Kellerman doesn't. That wasn't the full assault. That was just the probe. And now they know exactly where he is. 4:32 a.m. 45 minutes until dawn. Curry sits with his back against a tree while a medic wraps his shoulder. The shrapnel wound isn't deep, more of a gouge than a puncture, but it's bleeding steadily. The medic works fast, hands shaking slightly. He's young. 19, maybe 20. This is probably the first time he's patched someone under fire. You're lucky, the medic says, his voice thin. Curry almost laughs. Doesn't. Around them, the ridge has transformed into a hasty fortress. Soldiers dig in, stack sandbags, string wire. Someone's dragging bodies, Japanese bodies, off the trail and rolling them into a ravine. The work is mechanical, exhausted. No one speaks unless they have to. Kellerman crouches beside Curry, lighting a cigarette with trembling fingers. He takes a long drag, then holds it out. Curry shakes his head. They're regrouping, Kellerman says quietly. We can hear them down in the valley. A lot of them. How many? Best guess? 200. Maybe more. Kellerman's voice drops. Battalions pulling back. Orders came through 5 minutes ago. We're supposed to abandon this ridge, fall back to the secondary line, and wait for air support at first light. Curry says nothing. They want us moving in 10 minutes. Kellerman continues. Which means you need to move now. We've got a jeep waiting. I'm not leaving. Kellerman stops mid-drag. What? I'm not leaving the post. Curry, that's not. You don't have a choice. This is a direct order. The entire company is pulling back. Then leave me a radio and extra ammo. Kellerman stares at him, or at least Curry assumes he does. He can feel the weight of it, the disbelief radiating off the sergeant like heat. You can't be serious. Someone needs to delay them, Curry says. His voice is flat, factual. If they come through here unopposed, they'll hit the secondary line before you're dug in. You'll be slaughtered. So we leave you to be slaughtered instead? I'm one man. You're 50. You're a blind man. Curry turns his head toward Kellerman's voice. His eyes, milky, unfocused, lock onto the space where the sergeant's face should be. Then they won't see me coming either. The logic is insane. Kellerman knows it. Curry knows it. But there's something in the math that makes a brutal kind of sense. A delaying action doesn't require victory. It just requires time. Minutes. Enough for the rest of the unit to establish a defensible position. And a blind man, dug in, invisible in the pre-dawn dark, can buy minutes. If he's willing to pay the price. Kellerman exhales slowly. The SEAL will never approve this. Then don't tell him until after you're gone. There's a long pause. Somewhere in the valley, a flare goes up, Japanese, probably marking rally points. The light doesn't reach Curry. Nothing does. Finally, Kellerman speaks. You're out of your goddamn mind. Probably. Another pause. Then, what do you need? 15 minutes later, the ridge is empty except for Curry. They left him 6 grenades, 400 rounds of ammunition, and a radio set to the command frequency. Kellerman also left his own Thompson submachine gun, a gesture that said more than words could. If you're going to die here, at least make them remember it. Curry didn't take the Thompson. Told Kellerman he never trained on it, couldn't field strip it blind, couldn't trust it. The M1 is an extension of his body now. Anything else is a liability. Before Kellerman left, he gripped Curry's hand. Hard. Didn't say anything. Didn't need to. Now alone, Curry sets to work. He moves by memory and touch, repositioning ammunition, spacing grenades at measured intervals around his position, rigging a tripwire with paracord and an empty canteen that will rattle if anyone comes from the left. He does it all slowly, methodically. No wasted movement. No panic. The medic's bandage is already soaked through, but the bleeding has slowed. Curry ignores it. Pain is just information. It tells you you're alive. After that, it's noise. He settles into a shallow depression behind the fallen log, checks his rifle one more time, and listens. The valley is alive with sound now. Voices. Orders. The clink and scrape of equipment being redistributed. They're not hiding anymore. They don't need to. They know the Americans are retreating. They think the ridge is abandoned. They think they've won. Curry keys the radio. Actual, this is Outpost 7. In position. Over. The response is immediate. Major Hollis himself. Outpost 7, you are ordered to fall back. Acknowledge. Negative, actual. Staying in position. A pause. Then, quieter. Curry, is that you? Yes, sir. Another pause. Longer this time. When Hollis speaks again, his voice is different, tired, almost sad. You don't have to do this, son. Yes, sir. I do. There's nothing else to say. Hollis knows it. Currey knows it. This is the calculus of war, 1 life against 50. 1 hour against defeat. How long can you hold? Hollis asks. Currey listens to the valley. To the rhythm of preparation, the cadence of an army getting ready to move. He runs the numbers in his head. Distance. Terrain. The time it takes to organize 200 men for an assault. 30 minutes, he says. Maybe 40 if I'm smart. We'll have air support up by then. If you can mark their position. I'll do what I can, sir. Another pause. Currey? Sir? It's been an honor. Currey's throat tightens. He swallows it down. Likewise, sir. The radio clicks off. And Frank Currey, 21 years old, blind, bleeding, and alone, settles in to face 200 men. The first rays of light are just beginning to gray the eastern sky when he hears them coming. Not a probe this time. Not a scouting force. This is the full weight of their assault. Boots hammering the trail, voices rising in coordination, the unmistakable sound of men who believe victory is inevitable. Currey's hands are steady on the rifle. His breathing is slow. And in the space between heartbeats, he waits for the world to catch fire one more time.
They come in waves. The first wave hits at 5:03 a.m., just as the darkness begins to thin into that gray, treacherous twilight where shadows lie. Currey hears them before they're even close. 60, maybe 70 men, moving with the confidence of an army that thinks it's charging an empty position. Their boots strike the earth in uneven rhythm, voices calling out to maintain formation. Someone shouts what sounds like encouragement. Another voice laughs, a short, sharp bark that carries up the slope. They think this is over. Currey lets them come. 50 yards. 40. 30. His finger rests on the trigger, light as a breath. He's mapped the trail in his mind, every twist, every choke point. He knows exactly where they'll bunch up, where the terrain forces them into a natural killing zone. 25 yards. He pulls the pin on the first grenade. Counts 2 seconds. Throws. The explosion rips through the pre-dawn quiet like the earth splitting open. Men scream. The advance stutters, confused. Currey doesn't wait. He's already got the second grenade in hand. Already counting, already throwing. This one lands further left, where he heard equipment rattling. Another blast. More screaming. Now they know someone's here. Now they know they walked into a trap. The return fire is immediate and overwhelming. A wall of sound. Dozens of rifles opening up simultaneously, rounds snapping through the air, thudding into the log, shredding the vegetation around him. Currey presses himself flat, dirt spraying across his face as bullets chew up the ground inches from his head. But he's not trying to survive the barrage. He's listening through it. There, a group rushing the right flank, trying to use the chaos for cover. Currey rolls onto his side, brings the rifle up, and fires 4 times in rapid succession. Aiming at the sound of running feet, at the huffing breath, at the jingle of equipment that gives away every movement. One man drops, then another. The others dive for cover. Currey's already moving, scrambling 3 feet to his left, to the secondary position he prepared. The Japanese aren't firing at him now, they're firing at where he was. Rounds hammer the space he just vacated, turning it into splinters and dust. He reloads. Smooth. Automatic. The in-block clip slides home with that metallic click that means 8 more chances to stay alive. The machine gun from the valley opens up again, long, sweeping bursts that rake the ridgeline. Tracers arc through the gloom like angry red fireflies. Currey can't see them, but he can hear the Nambu's distinct chatter, can track its traverse by sound alone. He keys the radio with one hand, while keeping the rifle ready with the other. Actual, heavy machine gun in the valley. Estimate 400 yards south-southwest of my position. Request fire mission. Hollis's voice crackles back. Roger. Mortars inbound. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Another lifetime. The Japanese are reorganizing. Currey can hear their officers shouting commands, pulling their men back from the initial confusion, establishing fire positions. They're professionals. Veterans. They've done this before, and they know that one man, even one well-positioned man, can't hold indefinitely. They're going to flank him, pin him down with the machine gun, and flank him from both sides simultaneously. Currey hears the movement starting, smaller groups peeling off, heading up the slope on his left and right. They're being careful now, cautious, using fire and maneuver the way it's taught. He can't stop both flanks at once, so he chooses. The left flank is moving faster, more aggressive. Those are the ones who'll reach him first. Currey pivots, brings the rifle to bear, and fires at the sound of boots scraping on stone. The shot is good. He hears the grunt, the stumble. Fires again. Another hit. But the right flank is still moving, and the machine gun is still firing. And there are so many of them. The first mortar round hits the valley with a sound like God slamming a door. The Nambu goes silent. Whether destroyed or displaced, Currey doesn't know. Two more rounds follow in quick succession, walking across the Japanese positions. Men are shouting now, confusion bleeding into panic. But the ones on the ridge, the ones already committed to the assault, they keep coming. A grenade lands near Currey's position. He hears it, throws himself backward, and the blast catches him anyway. Not direct, but close enough. The concussion rings his ears, fills his mouth with dirt. Something hot slices across his leg. Not deep. Not yet. He's losing blood from both wounds now. His shoulder. His leg. The earth beneath him is slick with it. Currey forces himself up, finds his rifle, and fires blindly at the approaching sounds. The M1 empties. He reloads. His hands are slower now, slippery with blood. The clip fumbles, almost drops. He catches it, slams it home, keeps firing. Two men rush his position simultaneously, one from each side. Currey hears them both. Can't engage both. Chooses the one on the right. Swings the rifle, fires from the hip. The man goes down. But the one on the left is still coming, and Currey's rifle is empty, and there's no time to reload. He drops the M1, grabs the trench knife from his belt, and lunges toward the sound. The blade finds flesh. Sinks deep. The Japanese soldier gasps. Wet, surprised. Currey twists the knife, rips it free, and the man collapses. No time to think. No time to process. Currey grabs his rifle, reloads by feel, and spins back to the trail. They're everywhere now. The second wave has arrived, heavier than the first. 100 men, maybe more. The firing is constant, deafening. The air itself seems to scream. Currey keys the radio. His voice is hoarse, strained. Actual. They're overrunning the position. I can't. Air support inbound. Hollis cuts in. 60 seconds. Mark your position. Currey fumbles for the colored smoke grenade on his belt, the one they gave him for exactly this situation. He pulls the pin, tosses it as far as he can. Hears it hiss, start to billow. And then he hears something else. Something that makes his blood run cold. Footsteps. Right behind him. Close. Too close. Currey spins, brings the rifle up. But the barrel is grabbed. Wrenched to the side. A body slams into him. They go down together, rolling in the dirt. Currey's training takes over. Elbow to the ribs, knee to the gut, trying to create space. But the man is strong, desperate, and Currey can't see where the strikes are landing. Hands close around his throat. The world narrows. Air becomes precious. Currey claws at the hands, tries to break the grip, but his wounded shoulder screams in protest, weakening the attempt. This is it. This is how it ends. Not with a bullet. With hands squeezing the life out of him while 200 men storm past to kill everyone he was trying to save. Currey's vision, what little remained, starts to dim further. But his hand finds the knife. Still on his belt. He rips it free, drives it upward, feels resistance, then nothing. The hands on his throat loosen. Fall away. Currey sucks in air, rolls onto his stomach, coughing, gasping. His throat feels crushed. His head is spinning. And then he hears it. A sound that doesn't belong to the ground. A sound from the sky. The rising howl of aircraft engines. The P-47 Thunderbolts come in low, so low Currey can feel the roar of their passage in his chest. The first one makes its run along the valley, and the world erupts in a different kind of violence. The ripping snarl of .50 caliber machine guns, 8 of them per plane, pouring destruction into the Japanese positions. Then the bombs. The ridge shakes. Trees snap like matchsticks. The concussion is so massive Currey can feel his organs shift. The assault breaks. Not like before, not a tactical withdrawal. This is rout. Pure, animal terror as men realize they're not fighting one blind soldier anymore. They're fighting the full weight of American air power. Boots hammer the trail and retreat. Voices scream orders that no one follows. Equipment is dropped, abandoned. The sounds of organized advance become the sounds of disintegration. Currey lies on his back, chest heaving, blood pooling around him. He keys the radio one more time. Actual position held. Enemy retreating. Hollis's voice comes back, thick with emotion. You beautiful, crazy son of a bitch. Hold on. We're coming for you. Currey lets the handset fall from his grip. Above him, the planes continue their runs. Below him, the Japanese army scatters like smoke. And Frank Currey, blind, bleeding, victorious, closes his eyes against the dawn he cannot see.
The silence that follows battle is never truly silent. It's filled with the small, terrible sounds that war leaves behind, the crackle of fires that weren't there an hour ago, the soft moaning of men who will never stand again, the drip of blood from leaves, the hiss of smoke grenades burning out. And underneath it all, the ringing, that high, hollow tone that lives in your ears after too many explosions, a reminder that some damage never heals. Currey lies where he fell, breathing shallow, counting each breath like currency. His shoulder throbs with every heartbeat. His leg is numb, which is worse than pain, because numbness means nerve damage or blood loss, maybe both. His throat feels like someone took sandpaper to the inside of it. But he's alive. He shouldn't be. By every rational calculation, he should be dead. 200 men against one. Those aren't odds. That's execution. And yet, he hears footsteps approaching, American boots this time, running hard up the trail. Voices calling his name. Currey! Where are you? Currey! He tries to respond, but his voice comes out as a croak. He swallows, tries again. Here. The footsteps converge. Hands grab him, gentle this time, careful. Someone's cutting away his uniform to get at the wounds. Another voice is calling for a medic. A third is just repeating, Jesus Christ, over and over like a prayer. Kellerman's face appears somewhere above him. Currey can't see it, but he recognizes the voice, ragged with relief and disbelief. You insane bastard! You actually did it! Currey manages something that might be a smile. Might be a grimace. Had to, make sure you had time to dig in. Dig in? We barely got the perimeter set before your fireworks started. Kellerman's laugh is half sob. We heard the whole thing over the radio. Thought for sure you were dead a dozen times over. How long? Currey asks. How long what? How long did I hold? Kellerman checks his watch. When he speaks again, his voice is quiet. 53 minutes. 53 minutes. In that span of time, a blind soldier held a position against an army. Killed or wounded at least 30 men, the bodies are still being counted. Broke the back of a major Japanese offensive. Bought his unit the time they needed not just to survive, but to establish a defensive position so strong that when the enemy regrouped and tried again at noon, they were repelled with minimal American casualties. 53 minutes that changed the outcome of an entire engagement. The medic arrives, a different one this time, older, more experienced. He works quickly, professionally, his hands probing the wounds with practiced efficiency. Shoulders bad but manageable. Leg wound is superficial. Throat's bruised to hell but the trachea's intact. You're dehydrated, probably concussed, and you've lost enough blood that you should be unconscious. He pauses. How are you still talking? Currey doesn't answer. Doesn't know how to explain that consciousness is a choice you make every second in combat. That the moment you let go, you might not come back. We need to evac him now, the medic says to Kellerman. He needs a field hospital. Real surgery, not this patch job. Agreed. Jeeps waiting at the bottom of the ridge. They lift him onto a stretcher. Currey's body protests every movement, but he stays quiet. Complaining accomplishes nothing. Pain is just information, and the information right now is clear. He's alive, and that's more than most men get. As they carry him down the trail, Currey listens to the aftermath. Soldiers moving past in both directions, some reinforcing the line, others hauling supplies. Someone's organizing a detail to collect dog tags from the dead. Another voice is calling for wire cutters. The machinery of war, grinding forward. They passed through the defensive line his unit established while he held the ridge. Currey can hear the impressed murmurs, the reverent silence of men who are looking at someone who should be a corpse. That's him? Yeah. That's Currey. I heard he couldn't even see. Still can't. Did the whole thing blind? Whispers. The kind that follow you whether you want them to or not. The jeep is waiting where they said it would be. They load Currey in the back, securing the stretcher with practiced efficiency. Kellerman climbs in beside him. I'm riding with you, he says, and his tone makes it clear there's no room for argument. The jeep lurches forward, bouncing over the rutted jungle trail. Each jolt sends fresh waves of pain through Currey's body, but he grits his teeth and stays silent. You know they're going to pin a medal on you for this, Kellerman says after a while. Currey shakes his head slightly. Don't want a medal. Don't matter what you want. You held off 200 men. Alone. Blind. That's the kind of thing the brass loves to make an example of. I was just doing my job. Your job was to report enemy movement and fall back. What you did was... Kellerman trails off, searching for words. What you did was something else entirely. Currey doesn't respond. He's not sure what to say. He didn't charge that position thinking about heroism or medals or glory. He charged it because someone had to. Because the math made sense. Because leaving 50 men to die when he could buy them time felt like a betrayal of everything he'd sworn to uphold when he put on the uniform. It wasn't heroism. It was arithmetic. The jeep hits a particularly vicious bump, and Currey's shoulder flares white-hot. He hisses through his teeth. Sorry! The driver calls back. Road's shot to hell. Keep going. Currey manages. Don't stop. They don't. The field hospital is a chaos of its own, nurses moving between cots, doctors barking orders, the smell of antiseptic and blood and too many bodies in too small a space. They wheel Currey in on a gurney, straight past the triage area where men are waiting to be seen. A nurse starts to protest. Sir, there's a line. Not for him there isn't, Kellerman says flatly. This man just held off an entire Japanese company by himself. He goes first. The nurse looks at Currey, really looks at him. Takes in the blood-soaked bandages, the unfocused eyes, the pallor of blood loss. She nods. Prep or two. Tell Dr. Jameson we need him now. They will Currey into a tent that smells like ether and old fear. Hands transfer him to an operating table. Bright lights click on overhead, not that it matters to him. Someone's cutting away what's left of his uniform. Another voice is counting his pulse, calling out numbers. A face appears above him. Male. Older. The doctor, probably. Son, I'm Dr. Jameson. We're going to put you under, clean up these wounds, and get you stabilized. You understand? Yes, sir. You've lost a lot of blood. We might need to transfuse. That okay with you? Whatever you need to do, sir. There's a pause. Then, I heard what you did up there. That true? Currey doesn't answer. Jameson chuckles, a sound without humor. Never mind. I'll read about it in the reports. He signals to someone out of Currey's sight. Let's get him under. Prep the plasma. A mask descends over Currey's face. The smell of ether floods his nostrils, sweet, chemical, invasive. Count backward from 10. A voice instructs. 10, 9, 8. The world begins to soften, to blur at the edges. The sounds of the hospital fade into something distant, muffled. 7, 6. And for the first time in 3 weeks, the darkness that surrounds Frank Currey isn't from damaged optic nerves or the absence of light. It's the darkness of oblivion. Earned. Temporary. Merciful. 5, 4. He lets go. Currey wakes to the sound of rain. Not the monsoon rain of the Philippines, violent, torrential, the kind that drowns the world. This is softer. Steadier. The rain of somewhere else entirely. His mind surfaces slowly, fighting through layers of morphine and exhaustion. For a moment, he doesn't know where he is. Doesn't know if he's even alive. The darkness is the same as it's always been, absolute, unchanging, but the sounds are different. No gunfire. No screaming. No jungle breathing its wet, hostile breath. Just rain. And distant voices. And the clean, sterile smell of a real hospital. He tries to move and immediately regrets it. Every part of his body reports damage. His shoulder is locked in place, bandaged, splinted, immobilized. His leg throbs with a deep, bone-level ache. His throat feels like he swallowed glass. But he's in a bed. A real bed with sheets. Not a cot. Not a stretcher. A bed. Easy there, soldier. The voice comes from his right, female, American, tinged with the flat vowels of the Midwest. A nurse. Footsteps approach, and he feels a hand on his wrist, checking his pulse. Where am I? His voice is a rasp, barely recognizable. Manila. Base hospital. You've been out for 2 days. 2 days. Currey tries to process that. 2 days since the ridge. 2 days since. The unit, he says suddenly, trying to sit up. My unit, did they? Easy. The nurse pushes him back down gently but firmly. Your unit is fine. They held the line. Minimal casualties. A pause. Thanks to you, from what I hear. Currey settles back, some of the tension leaving his body. They made it. That's all that matters. The math worked. How bad? He asks, gesturing vaguely at himself. The nurse is quiet for a moment. When she speaks, her voice is carefully neutral, the tone of someone who's delivered bad news before and knows how to portion it out. The shoulder wound was infected. We had to debride it, clean it out. You'll have full mobility back eventually, but it's going to take time and physical therapy. The leg wound was clean, you got lucky there. 15 stitches, no permanent damage. And my eyes? Another pause. Longer this time. The doctors here aren't specialists. They've done what they can, but... She sighs. They want to send you stateside. Walter Reed has an ophthalmology unit that might be able to help. No promises, but probably not. Currey finishes. I'm sorry. He nods slowly. He'd known, of course. Known since the moment he woke up in that first field hospital 3 weeks ago. But there's a difference between knowing and knowing, between suspecting and having it confirmed by someone whose job is truth. He'll never see again. 21 years old, and the sun is gone forever. There's someone here to see you, the nurse says, changing the subject with the practiced ease of someone trying to pull a patient back from the edge. A Major Hollis? He's been waiting since yesterday. Said to let him know the moment you woke up. Send him in. The nurse's footsteps retreat. A moment later, heavier boots approach. The creak of a chair as someone sits beside the bed. Currey. Hollis's voice is rougher than Currey remembers, worn down by too many hours and too few miracles. Sir? How are you feeling? Like I got hit by 200 men, sir. Hollis barks a laugh, sharp, surprised. Well, at least your sense of humor survived. The humor fades quickly. I came to tell you something, and I want you to listen without interrupting. Can you do that? Yes, sir. Hollis takes a breath. What you did on that ridge, I've been in this army for 22 years. Seen action in the First War, worked my way up through the ranks. I've seen brave men. Seen men do extraordinary things under impossible circumstances. Another pause. But I have never, in all my years, seen anything like what you did. Currey starts to speak, but Hollis cuts him off. I said no interrupting. You held that position for nearly an hour against an enemy force that outnumbered you 100 to 1. You were wounded, blind, and alone. And you held. Do you understand what that means? Do you understand that if you'd folded, if you'd retreated or been overrun in the first 5 minutes, we would have lost that entire sector? Maybe the whole damn line. I was just doing your job. I know. That's what Kellerman said you'd say. Hollis leans forward. Curry can feel the intensity of his presence, the weight of what he's trying to communicate. But it wasn't your job, son. Your job was to listen and report. Your job was to fall back with the others. What you did was beyond job. Beyond duty. It was. He struggles for the word. It was transcendent. Curry doesn't know what to say to that. Doesn't know if there's anything to say. The brass is putting you up for the Medal of Honor. Hollis continues. I submitted the paperwork myself. So did 3 other officers. There were 47 men on that ridge who are alive right now because of you. Every single one of them signed a witness statement. You're going to get that medal, Curry. And you're going to accept it. Not for yourself, I know you don't care about that, but for them. For the men who need to believe that what you did was possible. That even in the worst moment, even when all the odds say you should die, there's still a chance. You are that chance now. The rain continues its steady percussion against the roof. Somewhere down the ward, someone moans in their sleep. I don't feel like a hero, sir, Curry says quietly. No one ever does, Hollis replies. That's how I know you are one. He stands, the chair scraping. You're being shipped stateside in 3 days. Walter Reed, like the nurse said. After that. He trails off. After that, whatever you want. Honorable discharge with full benefits. Or stay in if the army can find a place for you. Either way, you've given enough. More than enough. Thank you, sir. No, son. Hollis's hand rests briefly on Curry's shoulder, the good one. Thank you. The boots retreat. The door opens, closes. And Curry is alone again with the rain and the darkness and the strange, hollow feeling that comes from being told your worst moment was someone else's miracle. 3 days later, they load him onto AC-47 bound for Hawaii, then California, then finally Washington, D.C. He makes the journey in a haze of morphine and exhaustion, sleeping through most of the flights, waking only when the plane hits turbulence, or when nurses check his vitals. Other wounded men share the cargo hold, some quiet, some moaning, one crying softly for his mother. Curry listens to them and says nothing. What is there to say? They're all refugees from the same nightmare, just carrying different pieces of it home. Walter Reed Army Medical Center greets him with the institutional efficiency of a machine built to process broken soldiers. Tests. Examinations. Specialists peering into his eyes with lights and instruments, speaking to each other in medical jargon that amounts to the same thing. Nothing we can do. The optic nerves are too damaged. The pathways severed. Even if they could repair the physical trauma, the brain has been without visual input for too long. The neuroplasticity is gone. Frank Currey will never see again. They tell him this with sympathy and professionalism, and just enough hope for experimental procedures down the line that he knows they're lying to spare his feelings. He thanks them anyway. Because the truth is, he'd already known. Had known since that first morning in the field hospital. The rest was just paperwork. The ceremony happens on a cold November day in 1945. The war in Europe has been over for 6 months. Japan surrendered in August. Men are flooding home by the thousands, desperate to forget, to rebuild, to pretend the last 4 years were a bad dream. But some men can't go home yet. Some men have to stand in front of cameras and generals and let themselves be turned into symbols. Curry stands at attention in his dress uniform, pressed, perfect, every ribbon and insignia in its proper place. The uniform they put him in fits better than the one he wore in the jungle. Doesn't smell like cordite and death. The president himself pins the Medal of Honor to Curry's chest. The citation is read aloud. For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty. The words wash over him. He hears them, but they feel like they're describing someone else. Some fictional soldier from a story designed to inspire. Not a scared kid who couldn't see and did the math and decided 50 lives were worth more than one. Cameras flash. He can't see them, but he can hear the shutters clicking, feel the heat of the lights. Someone will take these photos and print them in newspapers across the country. They'll caption them with words like hero, and courage, and triumph. They won't mention the nightmares that wake him at 3 a.m., gasping. They won't mention how he flinches at sudden sounds. They won't mention that he can still hear those Japanese soldiers screaming, still smell the cordite, still feel the slick warmth of blood on his hands. But that's not what the medal is for. The medal is for the story. The version where darkness doesn't win. Where one man can hold against impossible odds. Where blindness becomes an advantage and terror becomes strength. The medal is for everyone who needs to believe that version. And if Frank Currey has to carry that weight, has to be that symbol, that story, that impossible thing, then he'll do it. Because 53 minutes on a ridge in the Philippines taught him something that no amount of medals can capture. You don't survive war because you're brave. You survive because when the world asks you to pay a price, you pay it without hesitation. And you learn to live with the receipt.